Hi, my name is Carolyn Keller, and I'm the founder of Curio 412. We're a consultancy for small businesses and nonprofits who want to engage their teams, attract recognition, and make a big impact in their community, which is why I'm excited to tell you a little bit more today about how to build brand ambassadors using outreach. Um, if you're watching this, you are probably a servant leader who started your business because you wanted to help people, and your service probably does just that. Whether you have a product or service, then you have something that contributes to people's lives, and you want to see that impact, and you want to be known for doing well in your community. You probably consider yourself someone who wants to cultivate that community and cultivate it with a tight knit team for greater purpose, whether that team is a team of employees or if it's a team of supporters and enthusiasts around your brand. You probably also love building organic relationships with people in your community. So that is a great reason to want to take a look at how you can use outreach to better build those connections. And that's why I'm here to help you discover those values that are at the heart of your company in order to inspire others to be brand ambassadors. I'm going to pull up a few slides that will help guide us through today and explain a little bit more about what this looks like. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a little bit more about who I am and how I came to be here. I'm a purpose-driven consultant and winner of the Pittsburgh Business Times 30 Under 30. And as a community leader, I've been serving nonprofits for nearly a decade. And I love bringing that nonprofit and outreach to the community relations side of small businesses. So as part of Curio 412, we focus on strategic management and community relations. That strategic management side ends up looking a lot like policies, procedures, communications plans, the nuts and bolts of a business that really help it to move. And the community relations side gets into a little bit of the outreach that we're going to talk to today, building the relationships with people who are within the community to help your brand really stand out. I'm also a chronic volunteer. I've been on numerous boards and committees and enjoy being able to see that impact in action. And that's actually one of the reasons that I started this consultancy. So my mom often talks a little bit about how her family and our family has this legacy of service. My grandmother was a teacher and my grandfather worked for United Way. All of my aunts have gone into a variety of fields, whether in healthcare, philanthropy. We have engineers, we have nonprofit professionals in our family. And in all of those different professions, everyone brings that element of service. And that drive for service has been an example to me as I've started doing more consulting work. And it's made me realize that service isn't often about the profession you hold, the service you provide, what your product looks like, but a way that you live your life. And when you have that mindset that allows you to be generous with yourself and others, you can also lift others up, whether that is in your team or your community. And you can cultivate that culture that works around a purpose. And that's what I bring to my consulting clients. And that's part of the reason I'm here today to talk to you, to help you discover the values that are at the heart of your company and how to inspire others to be ambassadors for what you do. So I'd like you to grab a pen and paper, and we're going to start by thinking about your business. So write down what your business does and what service it is. Maybe it's a product. Write it down and take a look at it. And I'd also like you to write down why other people refer you right now. Who are your biggest fans and what causes them to tell other people about you? And just write down a few notes. And then I'd like you to take a look at all that and identify, what do you want to get out of this session today? Who is your ideal brand ambassador and what do they look like? And as you think about that, maybe you're thinking about things like your ideal brand ambassador is someone who is going to share on social media. Maybe they're going to write you a good review or post a comment, or they're going to tell others about you so that your services spread. All of those different things are great. And think about that as you go through what you want those brand ambassadors to do and to be for your organization. And then we're going to start by looking at how you connect your values to the community. And this is, I think, the first step for understanding your business. Is oftentimes as business leaders, we think about what we do and we think about how we do it. But many times we don't always think about why we do it. And this is just as important as the what or the how, because your why can tend to help you guide decision-making processes. It can help to gather people around you to understand that common purpose. So as you're thinking about your business, I'd like you to also maybe write down a few reasons why your business exists and how that connects to how your business relates to the community. When we think about how your business exists or what that business's reason for existence is, you're probably going to think of a couple of different values too that are at the core of your business. And whatever those core values are, write down a few and think more deeply about how they relate. And then we're going to look at the community. So outreach is a really great way to be able to expand and attract attention to your business. And I'd like you to consider the different ways that maybe you've already done this. Maybe you are a corporate sponsor for an organization, or maybe you've donated in-kind donations to an organization or community cause. Maybe your business encourages some of your team members and employees to volunteer for other community events. There's a number of different ways that outreach can be a part of your business. And if you haven't done any of them, maybe this will help spark some ideas of how you can incorporate some of those things. But as you think about that, I'd like you to think very specifically about how those relate to the values that you've just written down and that reason for your organization's existence. Because you could go to a local food bank, you could go to a local nonprofit and do some volunteer work with them or do some great work, support a fantastic event, and that is all going to make such a big impact. However, when you look at those values, if it doesn't quite line up with your values, it may not have the same effect in terms of resonating with people who would end up being your ideal brand ambassadors. So when we think about outreach, think about using outreach in a strategic way. That doesn't mean that you don't want to make an impact. That doesn't mean that you're using any part of your service, but it does mean you want that particular part to align. So as a nonprofit professional, we are always centered on our mission. And oftentimes when I work with organizations that are nonprofits, we start by going back to the mission. And that is the why of your organization. That is the mission, is thinking about how that relates to everything else that you do. And that's why it's so important to think about it when you even think about that outreach and how it's implemented within your organization or your company. When I started doing this with one client, they actually ended up telling me that they didn't know how truly special their philanthropy could be until they had that strategy to guide them, until they understood what that why was that could guide their decision making and keep them in line with that value structure. That was the difference that connected them more deeply to the community they served. And it's always great to see how those things come together. And when we think about building relationships, because ultimately, anytime you engage in outreach with your business or anything you do in your business is building a relationship. And a customer who comes into your store or maybe receives your service, if they have a positive experience, they are going to take that positive experience and they may leave a good review or they may tell someone about it. But this is different than who your ideal brand ambassador is. That's all great. And what we're thinking about for a brand ambassador is someone who's going to take that positive experience, maybe how they've acted on it, and turn that into a person who will want to talk about you regardless of the last time that they had a positive experience with your organization, because that positive experience is forming a deeper connection, and the outreach that you do is building that deeper connection. So I always like to think about the quote from Maya Angelou that is, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. When your customers or your team members interact with you, they will remember what they felt, whether that's a positive or a negative experience. And they're also going to remember whether or not their values aligned with the values of your organization. Not everyone is going to be your ideal brand ambassador, but knowing that and honing in on why your organization exists, what values you have, are going to help make very deep connections with the people that will be your ideal brand ambassadors. These might be your clients or customers. They could be your team members. They could even be colleagues and other business leaders in the community or local community leaders that really have that valuable, loyal connection and deeper connection with your business. Oftentimes with brand ambassadors, brand ambassador ends up being a person who is very loyal and may not necessarily care about trying to seek out competition to see if they can check your prices in connection with other businesses, or see if they can get more out of a service from something else. They're people who believe in what you do and why you do what you do, versus just having that positive experience. So as you look at different ways you can have outreach in your community, whether that's through things that we've mentioned, like donations or volunteerism, thinking about how it connects on that value level will build that deeper connection with people who will always be excited to tell other people about your brand and about your business. And the exciting part about all of this is that you have the ability to have a big impact, and you should be excited to tell others about the impact that you have. When you look at corporate giving, businesses tend to generate 5 times more than traditional fundraising efforts of nonprofit organizations. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that businesses do connect to the community and local level in a much different way than the nonprofit or local cause community does. And so as you think about having a big impact, know that when you tell others, that's only going to maximize impact for not only you and your business getting recognition, but for the cause or the nonprofit or the organization that you support, which is a win-win for everyone. Oftentimes when I talk to business leaders about using outreach as a part of their strategy, they tell me, well, I don't necessarily want a strategy. I just want to do good. And you can do that, and you will be generous, and you will have an impact. But when you really tie this into a strategy, the benefits are intentional. And that's something that I would like for you as you take a look at utilizing these pieces of information to really understand that value, the why of your business, use it to build connections, and then understanding what an impact you can have through doing that. Because it won't just be something that your customers see and understand and connect with. It will also be something that your employees will see and that other people in the community will see, and they'll start to recognize you for why your organization does what it does. So I can't wait to see some of the impacts that you have. One of my clients had actually told me she had philanthropy on her heart for several years. And as her organization started to focus back on that why and the reason for existence and why they wanted to provide the services that they did, they found an opportunity to have a philanthropic event that was so successful. They are going to do it year after year after year. And when I've seen that happen with businesses, the results continue to multiply and those events come even more successful. So I'm very excited to see what will happen with her organization as they move forward. So I'd like to ask you, what if by focusing on your community, your team became closer and the world took even more notice of your brand? As we've discussed through this video today, starting with your brand and understanding the why behind your business is going to be key to this. Once you're able to have that, that will form purpose, and that purpose will resonate throughout your team. It will resonate throughout the customers or client bases that you have. And as you incorporate that into opportunities for outreach and are able to showcase your impact, you'll be reaching people who will connect on a deep level with your organization and with your business, to the point that they will be your brand ambassadors. And so I'd like to talk through a little bit of the process I go with my clients, which is typically first to creating that roadmap so that we know that when you make decisions that will engage your team and give back to the community, that those are in alignment with the values that you have. Secondly, we take a look at what opportunities do exist in the community that will help you build the organic relationships that you're looking for with people who are going to be those brand ambassadors for you. And then finally, we take a look at how you message to tell that story of impact, because spreading the word about the good that you do in your community will connect you on a local level and will multiply your impact. Simon Sinek is a business leader and consultant who often says that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so I want to leave you with that and ask you once more who your ideal brand ambassador is. And you can look back at some of the things that you wrote, and maybe some of those things are still true. But I think you may also end up adding things that you didn't initially think about. When you're thinking of that ideal brand ambassador, maybe now you're thinking of someone whose values will align with yours. Maybe you're thinking about someone who loves your brand and your business, not only for the product that you sell, or service that you sell, which is amazing, not only because you provide that service to the best that you can and the best in the community, but they will also be connecting with you because they know why you exist to sell that service and to be a part of the community through that service. And lastly, I always like to leave people with a reminder that what you do makes a difference. Whether you're going to incorporate outreach into your business model or not, anything that you do to influence and impact your community is always going to make that difference. And by making a difference in the community, you are able to have a big impact on what happens around you. I'd love to hear any takeaways, comments, questions from you. So please feel free to reach out, and I would love to see what you're doing with outreach in your business. So please feel free to give me a call, and we'll talk more about why your business does what you do. Thanks so much for joining today. Thanks so much for signing up for the Generator Conference. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this, and I look forward to seeing you soon.